The Dark Secret of Maplewood. Emma Carter was a young journalist always searching for the truth. She worked for a small newspaper in the city, but she wanted a big story that would change her career. One day, she came across an old article about a town called Maplewood. The article mentioned that, 20 years ago, a boy named Jacob Evans had mysteriously disappeared. No one ever found him, and the case was forgotten. Curious, Emma decided to visit Maplewood. As she drove into town, she noticed how peaceful it looked. Small houses, quiet streets, and friendly people. But something felt strange. The town was too quiet, and the people looked at her with suspicion. It was as if they knew she was an outsider. Emma checked into a small inn and started asking questions. She spoke to an old shopkeeper named Mr. Dawson. When she mentioned Jacob Evans, his face turned pale. "I don't know anything about that," he said quickly and walked away. At the local cafe, she asked a waitress about the case. The woman shook her head. That was a long time ago. Best to leave the past in the past. But Emma didn't want to leave it in the past. Something wasn't right. Why was everyone afraid to talk about a missing boy? A hidden clue. Determined, Emma went to the town library. She searched through old newspapers and found an article from 20 years ago. It said that Jacob Evans, a 12-year-old boy, had gone missing on a summer evening. His parents searched for him, and the police investigated, but they never found any clues. Strangely, after a few months, the case was closed, and no one spoke about it again. Emma also found an old photograph of Jacob. He had bright blue eyes and a big smile. Someone had written on the back, "Gone but not forgotten." She continued asking around until she met an old woman named Mrs. Turner. She was the only one willing to talk. She invited Emma into her small house and poured her a cup of tea. "I remember Jacob," Mrs. Turner said, her voice shaky. "He was a smart boy. But he knew something he shouldn't have." Emma leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Turner looked around nervously. Then, in a whisper, she said, "Jacob didn't run away. He was taken by someone in this town." Emma's heart pounded. "Who took him?" The old woman hesitated, then shook her head. "I can't say. But if you want the truth, go to the old house at the edge of town, the one that belonged to Mayor Harris. The abandoned house." That night, Emma walked to the abandoned house. The wooden door creaked as she pushed it open. Inside, the air was dusty, and old furniture was covered in white sheets. She explored the house until she found a small study filled with books and papers. On the desk, she discovered an old leather-bound diary. It belonged to Mayor Harris, who had died years ago. She flipped through the pages, and one entry caught her attention. "Jacob Evans knows. He saw everything. He must be stopped." Emma's hands trembled. What had Jacob seen? She searched the room and found an old wooden box under the desk. Inside, she found a few torn pages from the diary and some faded photographs. One of the photos showed the town's leaders, Mayor Harris, Mr. Dawson, and the chief of police. They stood next to large bags of money. Emma read the diary pages and gasped. 20 years ago, these men had stolen money meant for the town's school and hospital. Jacob had accidentally seen them hiding the money in an old barn. The boy had told someone, and when the town leaders found out, they made him disappear. The truth comes out. Emma took the diary and the photographs and rushed back to town. The next morning, she published the story in her newspaper. The truth about Maplewood's dark past was finally revealed. The town was in shock. The people who had covered up the crime were either dead or too old to face justice, but the town would never forget what happened to Jacob Evans. A week later, the police reopened the case. They searched the old barn and found human remains. Jacob had finally been found. His family, who had moved away long ago, returned to Maplewood to give him a proper burial. Emma had done what no one else had dared to do. She had uncovered the dark secret of Maplewood. And though the town would never be the same again, the truth had finally come to light.